Hector Doyle's story is crazier than you think. The first appearance of Hector Doyle is him in an electric chair sentenced to death. Like the other death row convicts, his last words are that he wants to know defeat. The execution began. Doyle started shaking violently. It looked terrible. His entire body was convulsing from the massive amount of electricity being pumped through him. It finally stopped and he dashed out of the chair like nothing happened. A moment later, he was already behind the guards, smashing their heads together and knocking them unconscious. He was even giving them an advantage by keeping himself blindfolded. The other guard quickly pulled a gun and fired, but the escaped convict easily dodged the shot and stepped in, punching the guard while catching the pistol with his mouth. He then told him that if the electrocution had lasted 10 seconds longer, he might have been dead. Then he hopped on his private jet to Japan to taste defeat. In the next chapter, we see Rob Robinson, the kickboxing champion, running through the park. Suddenly, a newspaper's thrown at him and grazes his cheek. It's Doyle. Rob tells him he doesn't fight amateurs and grabs him by the collar, but the prisoner's entire collar is lined with razor blades, slicing Rob's hand. After that, he uses the metal implants in his arm to brutally elbow Rob, cutting him in the neck and leaving him to die on the ground. It is a shocking introduction that immediately shows how dangerous and unpredictable he really is. At police headquarters, we see Oliva, who was sent to catch him. There is a knock on the door. It's the death row convict disguised as a female worker bringing coffee. He reveals himself and spills the coffee all over Oliva's eyes. Then he strikes him with his metal elbow. But unlike Rob Robinson, Oliva is barely damaged. Suddenly, Oliva loses balance and starts falling. The coffee he took a sip of was poisoned. Doyle uses this as an advantage to head kick him with his heeled shoes, causing even more damage. After that, he punches Oliva in the face, dropping him to the ground, but Oliva manages to grab his leg, picking him up like a toy before smashing him into the floor. He is knocked out. As Oliva picks him up by the collar, he cuts his hand on the hidden razor blades. The assassin then unleashes a combination, stab to the stomach and a few kicks, pushing Oliva away so he can escape through the ventilation shaft. Barely, but successfully. Afterwards, he is casually smoking and wondering how Oliva withstood all of that, like he was some kind of monster. After that, he spots a train and hops onto it while it's moving. Everyone inside can hardly believe their eyes. In the next chapter, we see Shinogi Kosho with Katsumi. Having tea, Katsumi offers him a fight with Doyle, and Shinogi excitedly accepts it. Meanwhile, the escaped convict is in a hotel with Stridum. He is flexing the metal blades coming out of his limbs, and Stridum is amazed by him. There is a buzz at the door. It is Shinogi, and he is furious because Doyle calls himself a grappler while killing for fun. Shinogi kicks him in the throat, sending him crashing into the wall. He starts choking like crazy. The fight resumes, and Shinogi throws a straight punch. Doyle dodges and prepares his metal elbow, only to be countered by another brutal elbow to the throat that drops him to the ground. It looks like the fight has ended, but he suddenly uses a new technique that dislocates Shinogi's jaw. Then Shinogi casually fixes it on the spot himself. The fight continues. Shinogi wants to use his special technique, but realizes he can't because of the blades, so he attacks the heart. But an explosion erupts from Doyle's chest. He had planted a bomb there through surgery, destroying Shinogi's face. The death row inmate wins, but Stridum is disappointed and says Shinogi was right. Doyle is not a real grappler, and with cheap tricks like these, he will eventually lose. Of course, he does not care. He only cares about finding someone capable of truly defeating him. In the same hotel, we see Retsu Kaio in the elevator. He runs into Doyle. Both were coming back from shopping. They head to the bar. Doyle takes a sip of alcohol and blows it through a candle flame in an attempt to set Retsu on fire. But Retsu responds by throwing a knife directly into his eye. Then Retsu copies the technique with the candle and sets him on fire. Afterwards, he cools him down with a fire extinguisher. Retsu then reveals all the knives hidden in his jacket and starts throwing them one by one. The convict's entire body is brutally stabbed. He tries to escape, but Retsu trips him and ties him up so he can't move. Doyle barely manages to escape using a smoke bomb. Retsu checks where he went, but his opponent is suddenly right behind him. Retsu attempts a spinning back fist but misses, then attacks again, knocking him to the ground. After that, he starts beating him with a stick. As Retsu is winning, someone suddenly puts him to sleep with a tranquilizer. It is Jack Hanma, actually saving Doyle, and he tells him that they are enemies, and that once he recovers, they will fight. As he leaves, two thieves start robbing Retsu, and he tells them to stop. One thief pulls out a 20,000-volt baton to intimidate him. This turns out to be a huge mistake. The assassin easily grabs his hand and places the baton against his throat. The other thief has a knife, but he manipulates him into stabbing himself, defeating both of them with ease. Despite everything that happened, Doyle decides to guard Retsu for the night. When Retsu wakes up, he finds the death row convict in critical condition. Amazed by the gesture, he puts him on his back and carries him to the Shinshinkai. On the way there, Retsu stops a motorcycle with his bare hands and even walks on water. The prisoner remains in a coma for 2 days. He thanks Retsu for saving him, but afterwards he does something brutal. He barges into Katsumi's class, disrespects everyone there, and declares that he is going to kill them all. He puts on a fireproof suit, and Katsumi immediately attacks him. But Doyle has already covered the room with powder. The moment he uses a lighter, the entire building explodes. He casually walks out as if nothing happened, only to be confronted by Doppo Orochi, who is furious that someone just blew up his dojo. Doyle throws a right overhand, but Doppo blocks it with karate and immediately counters, knocking him out cold. When he wakes up, he finds himself in the Shinshinkai dojo. Katsumi, despite being badly burned, welcomes him and asks if he admits defeat. Before he can answer, Katsumi kicks him in the head and knocks him unconscious again. He makes it clear that until Doyle admits he lost, he will not stop. The convict wakes up and attacks immediately, but Katsumi knocks him out again with a kick. The next day arrives. This time, Katsumi feeds him first. The moment he attacks, he is swept to the ground and threatened. He still refuses to admit defeat, so Katsumi brutally punches him in the head. His face becomes a bloody mess. And once again, he is put to sleep. This cycle repeats over and over. No matter how many times he wakes up, he refuses to admit defeat. For perhaps the first time in his life, he is facing something he cannot overcome through weapons or deception. Eventually, he wakes up once more, ready to fight, only to be greeted by one of Katsumi's students. To his surprise, he is told that he has won. It turns out Katsumi finally gave up trying to beat an admission of defeat out of him. Doyle can hardly believe it. He later approaches Katsumi and finally admits defeat on his own. After a while, the two actually become friends. Katsumi helps him find a boat so he can leave Tokyo and head toward the Middle East. Before leaving, Doyle asks for one final favor. He wants to learn karate, so he can always have a connection to Katsumi. Katsumi shows him a move called the Seiken, which is basically a straight punch in karate. As he prepares to leave, Katsumi gives him one final gift, his belt. Once on the boat, he notices someone waiting for him. It's Yanagi. The poison master mocks him, so Doyle breaks his glasses and throws them at him before charging in with a punch. Yanagi counters by driving his poison hand directly into his eye, leaving him practically blind. If you remember earlier in the story, Retsukayo had already stabbed his other eye with a knife. Now, completely blind, he is forced to rely on smell. Yanagi tricks him with a cigarette and then attacks from behind using the belt Katsumi had given him. He starts choking him out. Doyle is on the verge of death, but somehow manages to climb back onto the ship. Yanagi draws a samurai sword and slashes at him, but the iron frame hidden inside his arm saves him. After that, he escapes and hides inside a cave. Eventually, Oliva finds him and informs him that he is going to prison. Doyle attempts to fight back, but is easily stopped because of his terrible condition. When he arrives at the prison, he simply tells the warden, "I have enough." By losing the most important thing, light, he gained sound. Now he wonders what he will gain by losing sound as well, so he deliberately ruptures his own eardrums. Now blind and deaf, Doyle begins sensing the world in an entirely different way. He can even catch bats inside his cell through pure instinct. Rather than breaking him, all of these losses seem to push him toward another stage of growth. Hector Doyle is on a completely different level.